Okay, a lot of people don't get this, and I brought this up before, and actually a video from many, many years ago about hope being for the weak is related to this, or the idea that I believe confusion is a natural process in learning, right? Seeking out confusion and then finding the solution to the confusion and doing that repetitively, that's the learning process. Okay, it's related to this now, but this is about responsibility and taking responsibility. And for example, through history is the version I'm going to talk about. Taking some responsibility for the things that your parents did, and I have many arguments about it. But one thing to say right off is that I'm not saying that you have to take responsibility if you don't want to. I'm not saying I feel forced to. I wasn't chased down and made to take responsibility. I choose to take responsibility for the history and the genealogy. And sometimes it's fun. You don't really get to take credit. I have my grandmother did my ancestry. I'm a direct descendant of John Brown. That white man did a slave revolt, and that's good. It's not like I did that. I don't get to take credit for it. On the other hand, it's a part of things in history that we get to take responsibility for or have to. Now, even when it's unpleasant, it's not unlike, I paid taxes. I paid a lot of taxes in the last 10 years, and that money went into the Iraq war. My money has gone from my pocket and bank account into bombs that then blew people up. I choose. I'm not being forced to take responsibility for that. I was out there protesting that war. I could be someone that says, well, I don't have to take responsibility. But see, I believe that guilt itself is not the issue. I don't feel guilt when I take responsibility for something. I could feel like a failure. There's plenty of bad feelings. But I think guilt is something like, these brain virus idea, like the engrams of Scientology and stuff. And I think guilt is kind of something like that. And it's actually a thing that allows the crime that you're guilty about to go on and on. It's kind of like people that self-flagellate and then they feel better. They did their penance. People think if they emotionally torture themselves, then somehow that makes them better people, even though the thing that they're sad about or guilty about keeps going on and on. And then other people are so resistant to feeling guilty that they don't want to admit that they're related to the thing. And again, I'm not saying you have to feel like you're responsible if you're a fellow American for the fact that we broke our treaty with the Dakota about the Black Hills. You don't have to. I choose to, because I think if you don't feel connected to that or whatever it is in your culture, if you don't feel responsible, you don't take responsibility, you'll feel disconnected from history. And the cost of that is way worse than taking responsibility. Because once you have more healthy ways to feel responsible for things, it doesn't necessarily mean it emotionally feels better, but it's not like this insidious guilt thing that just locks you in a repetitive syndrome of doing this thing, and just feeling bad about it. As soon as you have better ways to feel responsible, because responsibility is it's not feeling guilty. It's like feeling like you still want to do something about it. I mean, and if you killed off some whole race of people, then you can't really well bring that, or animal, the carrier pigeon. That's terrible that we killed off the carrier pigeons. You can't bring them back. So, but you can at least try to avoid doing that again, and so to feel like, what can I do to avoid that situation? You have to feel like you've been in the situation. So you can learn these lessons from history best by realizing you were a part of history, and the continuity by taking responsibility for the past, you will get control of the future. And that's what I feel. That's how I feel. You don't have to take responsibility. I think taking responsibility is a huge advantage to me. So it doesn't, it's like, oh, well, then you're the evil person. No, I'm in a land beyond good and evil. So it's not about that. It's about going into the future and learning from the past and feeling some connectivity to the whole thing. And I believe this is the way to do it. And it's not for everybody, but anybody that has gone beyond guilt. And I don't mean people that just never take responsibility for things and don't care. I'm talking people that take responsibility and don't have to feel guilty just because they admitted their mistakes. They admitted their mistakes in a rational way that gives them information about what to do next, right? And if you're in that state of mind, then it's not that emotionally dangerous to take responsibility. people in my past said, about things, don't blame myself. And, blame myself, I do, because I take responsibility. I take responsibility for something. If it goes bad, then that's my learning lesson, right? And I don't feel guilty so long as I'm trying to learn and take it seriously and doing my best at it. So.